Okay, this study that just came out is genuinely shocking. Scientists discovered that what a mother eats during pregnancy doesn't just affect the baby while it's developing. It can actually change the baby's gut bacteria and immune system in ways that last for their entire life. We're not talking about malnutrition. We're talking about common food additives that are in almost everything. Published December 26, 2025, less than 3 months ago. And the implications? They're massive, because this means the ultra-processed foods we've been talking about on this channel aren't just harming you. They might be affecting your children and your grandchildren. Let me break down exactly what they found, how it works, and what this means for anyone who's pregnant, planning to get pregnant, or feeding young children. Because this changes everything about how we should think about food during pregnancy. Let's get into it. All right, so here's what the researchers did. They took pregnant mice and fed some of them a normal diet. Others got a diet with food emulsifiers added. Emulsifiers are those additives we talked about in the ultra-processed foods video. Things like carboxymethylcellulose and polysorbate 80. They're used to make food smooth, creamy, extend shelf life. They're in almost everything. Ice cream, salad dressing, bread, protein shakes, baby formula. The mothers ate these emulsifiers during pregnancy and while nursing. Then the researchers looked at what happened to the babies. And what they found was honestly disturbing. The babies whose mothers consumed emulsifiers had completely different gut bacteria from the very first weeks of life. Not slightly different, fundamentally different. Their gut microbiomes never developed normally, even after the mothers stopped eating the emulsifiers, even after the babies were weaned onto regular food. The damage was done early, and it lasted. But it gets worse. Because those altered gut bacteria meant the baby's immune systems didn't develop properly either. See, in the first weeks and months of life, your gut bacteria train your immune system. They teach it what's dangerous and what's safe, what to attack and what to tolerate. When the gut bacteria are wrong, that training goes wrong. And the result? These baby mice grew up with chronic low-grade inflammation. Their immune systems were constantly on alert, attacking things they shouldn't. As adults, they were way more vulnerable to inflammatory bowel diseases. And they gained weight more easily, becoming obese even on a normal diet. All because of what their mothers ate before they were even born. Now, this was done in mice, not humans. And we have to be careful about extrapolating from animal studies. But here's why this matters. The gut microbiome works the same way in humans. The immune system development process is the same. And we know that emulsifiers damage the gut lining in humans too. Multiple studies have already shown that emulsifiers disrupt the human gut microbiome, increase intestinal permeability, and promote inflammation. So it's not a huge leap to think that what happened in these mice could be happening in humans too. And that's terrifying. Because emulsifiers are everywhere. Pregnant women are consuming them every single day without realizing it. They're in healthy foods. Protein bars marketed to pregnant women. Smoothies, yogurt, bread, even in prenatal supplements sometimes. And if this research translates to humans, that means we might be unintentionally setting up our children for a lifetime of gut problems, immune dysfunction, and metabolic disease before they're even born. Now let me explain the mechanism a bit more, because understanding how this works makes it even more alarming. During pregnancy and early infancy, the baby's gut is being colonized by bacteria. Some of that bacteria comes from the mother's gut. Some comes from the birth canal during delivery. Some comes from breast milk. Some comes from the environment. This colonization process is critical. It's establishing the foundation of the child's microbiome for life. And if the mother's gut bacteria are damaged by emulsifiers, she's passing along damaged bacteria to her baby. Then, if the baby is also exposed to emulsifiers, through breast milk or formula, the damage compounds. The beneficial bacteria that should be establishing themselves can't compete. The harmful, inflammation-promoting bacteria take over instead. And once that happens early in life, it's really hard to fix. Because the gut microbiome has what scientists call a window of opportunity in early childhood. If the right bacteria don't establish themselves during that window, it's much harder to introduce them later. It's like trying to plant a garden after weeds have already taken over. You can do it, but it's an uphill battle. So what should pregnant women and new mothers actually do based on this research? First, minimize ultra-processed foods as much as possible during pregnancy and while breastfeeding. I know that's easier said than done. Pregnancy cravings are real. Morning sickness is real. Exhaustion is real. But wherever you can, choose whole foods over packaged products. Instead of a protein bar with 20 ingredients, have a hard-boiled egg and some nuts. Instead of flavored yogurt with emulsifiers, buy plain yogurt and add fresh fruit. Instead of store-bought smoothies, make them at home with real ingredients. Instead of packaged bread full of additives, find a bakery that makes bread with just flour, water, salt, and yeast. Second, read ingredient labels obsessively. Look for these specific emulsifiers and avoid them. Carboxymethylcellulose, CMC, polysorbate 80, carrageenan, lecithin, sometimes okay, but check the source. Mono and diglycerides. If you see these on a label, especially in foods you're eating regularly, find an alternative. Third, if you're using formula, this gets complicated. Because most baby formulas contain emulsifiers. They're necessary to keep the fat from separating out. But this research suggests we need to be rethinking that. Maybe there are safer emulsifiers. Maybe there are alternative formulations. I can't tell you to stop using formula if that's what you need to feed your baby. Fed is best, always. But I can tell you that this research should be pushing formula manufacturers to find safer alternatives. And if you are using formula, you can still support your baby's gut health by adding probiotics designed for infants. Talk to your pediatrician first. Introducing diverse solid foods early when appropriate. Avoiding other sources of emulsifiers in the baby's diet. Fourth, once your baby is eating solid foods, the same rules apply. Minimize ultra-processed baby foods. Make your own when possible. Choose products with simple ingredient lists. Those little pouches with 15 ingredients and multiple emulsifiers, not ideal. Mashed avocado, sweet potato, banana, much better. I know this is a lot. And I know it sounds overwhelming, especially for new parents who are already exhausted and stressed. But here's what I want you to understand. You don't have to be perfect. Nobody's diet is going to be 100% clean all the time. But being aware of this research and making even small changes can make a difference. Every meal you choose whole foods over ultra-processed is a win. Every emulsifier you avoid is helping protect your child's gut and immune system. Small changes compound over time. Now let's talk about the bigger picture, because this research has implications way beyond individual choices. If emulsifiers in food are damaging children's health before they're even born, we have a serious public health problem. And it's not fair to put all the responsibility on individual mothers to read every label and avoid every additive. We need regulation. We need food manufacturers to be held accountable. The lead researcher on this study said something that really stuck with me. It is crucial for us to develop a better understanding of how what we eat can influence future generations' health. These findings highlight how important it is to regulate the use of food additives, especially in powdered baby formulas. Because that's where babies are most vulnerable. And that's where these additives should be the most tightly controlled. But right now, they're barely regulated at all. Emulsifiers are generally recognized as safe by the FDA, which means they were approved decades ago based on short-term toxicity testing. Nobody looked at what they do to the gut microbiome. Nobody looked at multi-generational effects. Nobody studied pregnant women and their babies. And now we're finding out that safe might not mean what we thought it meant. This is why I keep coming back to the same message on this channel. Ultra-processed foods aren't just junk food. They're industrial products with ingredients that we're still discovering the effects of. And the most vulnerable among us, pregnant women, babies, young children, are being exposed to these ingredients at the exact moment when their bodies are most sensitive. That's not okay. If this video opened your eyes to something you didn't know before, please share it. Share it with pregnant friends. Share it with new parents. Share it with anyone who's thinking about having kids. Because this information could genuinely change the trajectory of a child's health for their entire life. Hit subscribe if you want more evidence-based content on nutrition and health. I'm covering the latest research as it comes out, cutting through the hype and telling you what actually matters. And leave a comment. Are you pregnant or planning to be? Does this change how you're thinking about food? I genuinely love to hear your thoughts. See you in the next one.